Hey everybody, it's Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today I'm going to show you step by step how you can paint this lovely abstract landscape. It's got kind of implied lavender and lilac bushes in it on a stormy day. Step by step, I'm going to break it down. To help me do that is my husband, John.
Hello.
Now, he helps me do this by making sure that the camera is pointed at what I'm talking about or zoomed in when I need it so you can see every color mix on the canvas. You can see every tool that I'm using. That way you can paint with me at home. Here's an important thing. Be sure and check that description because there's a link to the website. There's a lot of information and resources on the website. The materials are in this description. You can find that also on the website. We will be breaking this down into steps. Those will be timestamps so you can find your place again. Abstract is a weird thing because it can be emotionally challenging. Maybe the techniques aren't physically challenging, but the emotional journey of abstract is challenging. So I'm so excited that that's what we're doing this year for Acrylic April. Acrylic April is a 30-day daily painting program. Maybe you came here for just this one painting, but I'd love to encourage you to try all 30 because this year we've got the materials in the store, we've got the book, we've got the school. We have so many resources available to you to help you be successful. But regardless, I think this painting is just going to be a lot of fun. I want you to get your paint, get your brushes, check the description for the materials or the book or the website or any of the places that we post those everywhere so you can find them easily. And I want to see you back here. We'll get started painting this. So let's go over what we're going to be using in today's show. I have an 8x8 surface here. That's what we're using all month. I have a little bit, it's kind of a little out of your eye range, is a little Mars Black and Titanium White together. That's going to be a gray for the background. Ultramarine Blue, Quinacridone Magenta, Cad Red Medium, Cad Yellow Medium, Burnt Sienna, Dioxazine Purple, phthalo blue, and then again another little plop of Mars Black and Titanium White. Now let's throw up a step and I will show you the first thing that we're going to do to create this painting. Oh, step one, it's my favorite. How you doing today, John?
Good.
I think I'm going to get a little 1-inch scruffy brush. This is a number 20 Raphael Artini brush. I'm going to get a little bit damp. And I'm going to mix some of my little black over into my white. I'm going to get a little bit of my blue. And we're going to just use this as a background color on the surface, like a ground. I'm just putting a layer of color here. Kind of coming around. We just want to get a little layer of color so that our surface is what's called toned. We got to have tone, John.
I see.
This is the kind of tone you get without sit-ups. I'm painting a little bit around the edge. You could paint fully around the edge if you're not framing. But if you are framing, you have to still paint a little bit around the edge so that the white of the canvas doesn't show on the frame. Doesn't have to be a uniform single color. We're just making sure that it's not white. So that's the blue, the Mars Black, the Ultramarine Blue, Mars Black, and Titanium White. And notice that I'm not like really particularly concerned about brush stroke or directionality. Though in this particular painting, brush stroke and directionality will matter. But just not yet. I'm just working this into this lovely surface. I really love these canvases. Very much. Okay, now I'm going to rinse this brush out thoroughly and then I'm going to dry it off with a towel. And that's just so that the brush doesn't get too soft or waterlogged because it's hog bristles. The number 20 Artini is a hog bristle brush and natural hair or bristles tend to hold a little more water. So it's important to keep a towel or something to the side so that you can squeeze that out. Now, to do the next step, I'm going to need to dry this. When we come back, I'll show you what you do next. All right, step 2, I'm going to continue on with the same brush. I'm going to get a little bit of my blue on here, just a slightly bluer, darker version of my gray. And if you see the halfway point in this surface, I'm going to come above it. And I'll come across here. This is sort of a distant hill. Then I'm going to come in the middle space and bring a little hill down here. Come up a slightly different height but similar. Bring another little hill down there. Right? Notice it kind of goes up and down. We just make irregular shapes. Then we're going to have a bit of a divisive line here so that this part of the surface, the close grass, kind of comes in and curls here. Just sort of figuring where I want to place that. There we go. So that'll be like the middle range there. And I'm just sketching with my brush, figuring out where object placement is going to be. This is sort of an important thing that you do in painting. It lets you know where your space is going to go. So even if you're doing an abstract landscape, understanding where objects are and how they relate to each other will help an abstract feel like a landscape, even though you're abstracting that landscape. Those are fun words. All the fun words.
All the words?
All the words. Yeah, it's a very expressive abstract landscape that we're about to do. So we're going to try this again and come back and start painting the painting. So here in step 3, we're going to start putting in the sky. I'm going to use a number 12 Raphael Artini D brush. The brush is called this because it's in the shape of a D. Do you have to have this brush? No, you don't. You could use a filbert or a bright in about this width. I do like the multi-uses for this brush. It's one of my favorites, but you can use what you have in your bucket. You don't have to feel stress or pressure. I'm going to come in and take a little bit of my black here and some of my white, and I'm going to make a nice gray. And I'm going to start brushing diagonally from this upper right corner down towards that lower left. So this is where brush directionality is going to come into play a bit. I might get a little of my phthalo blue, a little different than when I get the ultramarine blue in there. I'm going to bring this across. Hear that lovely little scratching sound. It's just wonderful, isn't it?
Really is.
Now I'm going to come in and get a little white into here. Maybe again a little of the phthalo blue. Little diagonal brush strokes. Working them in. Getting a little hair off. That'll happen sometimes with your hog brushes. Get a little bit wet. I'm going to get a little more white on here. Again, diagonal brush strokes. I can come down onto the mountains a bit, coming across this top edge. Get back into that blue. I really like this blue into that gray. Get a little more of that blue-gray together. Bringing that up. See, I'm getting different values, but I want the light, the center to be sort of light here. That's a keyhole of light. And just that rough diagonal brush stroke. Now I'm going to wipe my brush off. Come back in and blend here. Go right over. Softening that dark area. See how we've done? It softens it a bit. Back into the white. Just wiggling that back and forth. That kind of gives us that feeling of cloud-like structure. But it's not clouds, just cloud-like structure. Right? We're just doing it a little bit like that. Maybe a little blue. Bring that in there. Just brush that back. You just play with that until you are happy with the drama that you have placed in your sky. Going kind of very light white right here. And you've got both sides of the brush, which I really do like because I can come over on the soft side and kind of really blend a little bit out. I love that very much. Okay, that's all we are doing there. How fun is that?
Super easy.
Gotta love it. You gotta love it. Come back, I'll show you what you do next. So for 4, I'm going to continue on, John, with the same exact plan. I'm going to pull out a little bit of my ultramarine blue. I'm going to grab some of my titanium white into it. Just those two. And I'm going to put in this little distant hill with my ultramarine blue and titanium white. That's a pretty fun one. I'm going to come in and grab a little bit of my Quinacridone Magenta, mix these together, and that gives me a bit of a sort of violet color. And I will pull that hill down there. Maybe get a little bit darker here with the mix of those two. Not quite the oxazine purple dark. But you know, pretty dark.
Just pretty dark.
Pretty dark. Adding a little more white. I will go ahead and kind of pop a little white to the top of that hill. There we go. Just popping a little white there. I'm going to rinse that out really thoroughly. I don't need to dry for this next part, so we're going to come back and kind of work this little space between these two. Same brush, so let's put up another step. All right, so step 5, I'm going to come in and I'm going to take a little bit of my cad yellow and my burnt sienna together and white. And I'm looking for a wheat color, a golden wheat color. I'll come across here first. All right, just kind of working that little far edge. Maybe get, I think I'll grab some ultramarine blue into that. It'll kind of gray green it. See how it's doing? I'm going to make little downward brush strokes over here. A little more gray green. And then I mixed burnt sienna, a little ultramarine blue, and that really also grays it up, making short little brush strokes. This is what we're doing, short little brush strokes. Little ultramarine, little burnt sienna, kind of a nice dark.
Oh yeah.
Dark gray, blue-gray over here. Maybe a little more brown, and I'll work that in there. Rinse your brush out, right? You can rinse it out. Notice that these kind of brush strokes are kind of also happening here. I'm going to sort of straighten them out here towards the center. I'm going to grab a little bit of my yellow, maybe some white. and work that in. A little up and down. Back into the beige. Working in that gray. Kind of the implication of distant, far away kind of plants and objects. Now I'm going to rinse that out and dry that completely. I'm going to dry the surface. When we come back, I'm going to show you what you do next. So I'm going to get an angle brush because I want to have a little edge here, and I'm going to use the number 8 Raphael soft grill. So you could use a bright if you wanted to, another nice little square bright or flat, but I'm going to use this. I'm going to grab a little of my phthalo blue with my burnt sienna. Let's get some white into that. We're going to make some little square implications. Come in and add some white. I like that blue in there. We're going to rinse that out. Now I'm really going to take my phthalo blue and burnt sienna. Make kind of a darker color.
Kind of a very stormy color palette.
It is a stormy color palette for a field, which is sort of fun. Little short brush strokes there. I'm also going to take this very sort of dark color that I have here. Let's get some yellow into it. And kind of take it into a really unusual green. I'm going to make some up and down little kind of distant tree lines. See how I'm on the corner of the brush? If I can use the edge to have a sharp embankment. Adding more yellow to be just a bit more in the green. I'll bring that in there. Right here through that middle. This one can be peeking out. Go ahead and get some black into that. Yellow and black also makes a really compelling green.
That's an interesting thing you wouldn't think.
You wouldn't think, but it does a good job. All right, I'm going to rinse out here. I'm going to get a little more of my blue. And brown. Make sure I layer that in, because that's just a nice, it's a nice little layering of color, yeah? Rinse out.
Yeah.
Take a little yellow, a little brown. Little short marks. Add a lot of white. Kind of add some wheaty wheat out there.
Wheaty wheat.
Gray some of that wheat on these sort of little outer edges, so it's a little brighter in the center and then grays out. I like it. Rinse it out. Okay. While I'm here, I'm going to get a little of my white and ultramarine blue. I'm going to come above some of my little trees with a bit of a little highlight there. Just like a distant smokiness. Just very loosely expressed. Okay, there we go. Some nice little purple moody atmosphere. Just a titch. And that distant background. Little purple, just a titch, not a lot. Not a tremendous amount. We're just thinking about it a little bit. So let's dry this and come back. I'm going to show you what you're going to do next. So I want to really dry out my hog bristle brush for the next part. And I want the surface to be dry so this all layers fairly well. And I'm actually going to, interestingly enough, start with a little of my dioxazine purple and a touch of white. This is just a very powerful purple. And I'm going to make little dots that could be bushes, maybe will be bushes. But these are going to be like in the shadow of that bush. Right, that could be here. Next, I'll come over into my ultramarine blue and my Quinacridone Magenta. I'm going to get some white onto it. And I'm going to just use the rough scruffy of the brush. So the brush is a rough and scruffy. And go back into my deep purple. Creating some little values. These are almost like little lilac bushes, aren't they? I'm just tapping this up and down. I'm just using the crazy shape of the brush. You could use a round. You could use a lot of different brushes. And you would be okay to do that. Put a lot more quinacridone on there and grab some white. Hit the front of that a bit. See how it just sort of creates some implied shape? Tapping that up and down. And what I want to create is like areas that are dark to play against the areas that are bright. You can see we take things a little more into the blue, and it takes it a whole nother way, doesn't it? I want to really find a lighter color, so I'm going to continue tinting this with white. Working into like the different levels of the bush. The lilac bushes. They're so crazy, but there they are. Okay.
Pretty good bushes.
They're okay. We like them. We think that they were a good idea. Now I'm going to come back and I'm going to get a little of my yellow. I'm going to bring it over to my black. I'll go ahead and add a little of my blue to it. My phthalo blue. I'm going to take my angle brush, the number 8 angle here, and I'm going to just kind of imply some greenery happening there. Grab a little white and add it into that yellow green mix that I just made. You can kind of see that that's interesting and coming across there. Those are fun colors to play with. I'll go into my phthalo blue. Come into this little purple here. Ultramarine blue. And kind of play up that mid-range. That strange little mid-range that we do like. Okay, now we're going to dry it again. When we come back, I'm going to show you the next step. So I'm going to want to put in some of my closer grasses, and I need to leave some space that will be there for the purple. I don't necessarily want to paint the purple over a lot of the yellow because that will gray it out. So I'm going to come in first into my yellow. I'm going to take a little bit of my Cad yellow and Cad red together and a smidge of my burnt sienna. And I'm going to begin to use my D brush to imply grasses. You can do the side too. A little red, a little burnt sienna. Just coming down through here. First layer. So don't feel too pressured. Come get a little black into it. You know, we're just talking about grass, right? And so the lines here are going down like this, but the lines here are going up like this, and it will create kind of an interesting counter cross line that we're going to like a lot. I'm going to use a little more red, a little more yellow. Just to start this base. Get a little white into it. A little yellow, and it has like a titch of green in it. Just kind of working that up. And these are brighter colors because they're closer to us. Just a happy little, strange, abstracty little lavender field. Add a little more white into that mix. A little more white, a little more yellow. That just really golds it up, doesn't it? Maybe a little bit right there. And come back through. A little red, a little yellow. Come here and kind of add some of that warmth right there. Right? Again, you could be using a filbert, you could be using a bright. What you just want is these sort of short, rough brush strokes. And the big thing...
They sort of imply the grasses.
We're implying the grasses. And the big thing that they've got to do, John, is just not be judgmental of the work that they're doing. Right? Sometimes it's so easy to be judgmental. I'm going to grab a little burnt sienna and a little Mars Black and kind of deepen that corner there a bit. A little bit here and there. Just kind of thinking about how shadows get in the grass. And that is pretty darn good. It's a good place to begin. I'm going to want to rinse this brush out and I'm going to want to dry everything really well. So we're going to come through here and create kind of like this purple interweaving back in. And I'm actually going to start with my Doc's purple and maybe a little bit of my ultramarine blue, smidge white. But I want it to be very dark and cool. And I'm just making these little, again, short brush strokes that imply what's here. And they might come back into, back into the gold wheat here. See how we're doing? I did that with a little bit of white and ultramarine blue and Doc's purple. Come back in with a little more ultramarine. And then I can get right into my Quinacridone Magenta and ultramarine blue. Sometimes a little more magenta. Isn't that fun, all those little colors in there? Bring a little white and then kind of pull it up in there. A little more blue into that mix. And it's such a different purple when you do more blue, isn't it? Such a different purple. Adding the white into there. I'm still using the D brush here just to create this sort of little structural look that we're liking. quite light. Very light patches there. Just little pops of it coming out into the little gold field. It isn't everything, it isn't everywhere, but it's, you know, it's happening there. Touch up here, perhaps. Little bits of that purple peeking out of those bushes. Like that very, very much. Gonna rinse that out. Put that aside, dry this, and come back. I'm going to show you what you do next. So step 10, John. Step 10. We're working through. Now,
Step 10.
I'm going to move some of my white over here. I'm going to grab my yellow. Right, kind of work that in here. I need sort of a light, bright yellow that I can get on to the brush. This is my angle brush again. And I'm going to make little kind of angle brush marks here, and they'll be less fluffy, right? So that's not as fluffy as what we had maybe in the purple and the grass before. And I'm just putting in that more gold bright area. Adding a little more yellow up here into that mix. So because there's some contrasting colors here, what's wonderful about this is that play of the yellow and the purple is what is creating this drama.
The drama.
Yeah, the drama that we want on our paintings, but we don't want in our art. We talk about all the time.
It's an implied drama.
It's an implied drama.
You only get it if you see it.
And I kind of love it. It's making me super happy. The next fun drama I want to get into is I'm going to rinse out my brush. I'm going to play with some really fun things here, unexpected things. I'm going to take my Doc's purple and my Cad red over here together, and I'm going to mix a lot more Cad red into this, unexpected. And then let's get some white. I need to maybe put out some more white. Sometimes we go through a color like pretty aggressively in a painting. Generally, I use about twice as much white as any other color. That's just me. We're all different. And I'm going to take this white mix it into that Dioxazine Cad red space. And I don't want a streaky color. I want kind of a really noticeable color. See how that's super popping? Even against that purple.
It really does.
Little tiny touches, just weaving it in. Bringing it through. I can bring a little of the Cad red and even a little of my magenta into that as well. And I've got the white there. These are surprising mixes. Go right here. I've got that yellow and white that I'm in there. And look at us go there. So yeah, we've got the purple, but we're playing some unexpected color against it. Pull it out here and there. Just a bit unexpected. I'm going to rinse out. I'm going to go ahead and take a little of my Doc's purple and my ultramarine blue that I had over here. And I'm going to make sure that my light purple still has some kind of dark purple playing in it. See how we're doing there? That's super fun. And then as if this isn't the most enjoyable thing ever, take a little bit of my red over, still my angle brush, and some of my yellow. I'm going to make a very bright orange. If you had Pyro Orange, you could use that, but you know, this whole month is about mixing these colors. So we're going to mix, and I'm going to pop this orange here at the edge of this. This bright, bright orange. Isn't it just gorge?
Super. Really
So
like the little pops.
These would be like little poppies, right? And that's why they're focused kind of here on these edges. Just playing on the edges. Sometimes mix a little more orange in it, so it's a kind of a brighter orange. Nothing like a little contrast. And you know, when you're just happy with that, when you're happy with the flow of that,
Just cut them all down.
yeah, that's what you're looking for. Is you're looking for a place where in your mind, the texture, the flow, the line of everything, right? The unexpected color of it all kind of pulls you in.
I'm definitely pulled in by this one.
I really do. I'm enjoying this one a lot. So I've added a lot more yellow, and I'm adding some white. Kind of sherberding that up. I think I'm getting kind of pleased. I think the color that I've got to pull down here, honestly, now, I'm going to take a little bit of my cad yellow and my phthalo blue and some burnt sienna and white. I just need to pull a little of this down there. Into the painting. A little bit there. I'm looking for balance in a piece always, right? So if I have a color that's here and I don't want it to hold the whole painting hostage, I've got to kind of think about how am I going to put it other places. Come get a little more blue. A little bit there. There we go. We've danced that through. I think we're ready to sign it. I'm happy with that. I feel like I've created a little interesting story.
I think it's beautiful.
It's abstract. It is definitely an abstracted landscape, but you'll recognize elements of landscape in it, and the way that lines and color and form kind of imply objects within space becomes really evident there. Now, this is going to be an interesting one to sign because I've got to really think about how I'm going to sign this. And I might do something unexpected that I don't often do. I'm going to come over into my Cad Red with my #1 liner. Give it a signature. I hope you guys are loving this daily painting practice. I hope as you come to the end of the painting, like we are right now, and you're thinking about your time with the painting, that you enjoyed it and that you feel like you learned some stuff about color and line and the tools that you own and how you can use those tools to create art in your own life. I'm really liking this. When we come back, I'm going to tell you what we're going to do next. Guys, that was amazing. I love spending that time with you. It's a lot of fun to do these little abstract paintings. I'm hoping that this year kind of pulled a lot more of you in, even if you weren't a fan of abstract, or maybe you've always been a fan of abstract, but that you wouldn't feel like too challenged by the year to participate. So I'm hoping that a lot more of you who hadn't participated before are going for that. Yeah. Now remember, as we come to the end of our painting and we're looking at it, sometimes initially even I will look at a painting and be like, I don't love it. right? Like I'm done and I'm like, we're not friends anymore. And the thing to remember is that you really almost need some space, a way to step back from your art, a little bit of time. And when you're painting daily, you kind of get that because you've got to go into the next project. You've got to go into the next project. But just know that I've done this for several years. John's seen this for several years.
Yep.
You guys never know how you feel about your collection till after the whole collection is done and you've sat with it for a minute. That is a true thing. If you've been here in previous Acrylic Aprils, please comment and tell newcomers like about this weird emotional journey that you go through in a daily painting, of enthusiasm to like fatigue to frustration to again elation to like I don't know, and then later like I can't believe I did it. It's a whole process. Now maybe you came to just do this one fun painting because you just like the colors or what it was about, but hopefully you're jumping in for everything. I can't wait to see yours. Remember, we've got the Acrylic April group, so you can come share that artwork with me. Don't forget, you can purchase the materials that you see here at our store. We have a book for Acrylic April this year, and you know, keep checking the store because we're going to be getting the books in there because you guys have been asking for stuff that you don't have to print out yourself. So we feel that's a reasonable request. I understand it, you know, so those will be available for you there. Definitely take part in the course because that is going to help organize this collection into one location. The school for it is going to make such a big difference in just having the sequential cohesive nature where you're not searching through the website or searching through YouTube. I definitely recommend that. So those are resources, but guess what? You don't have to do any of it, right? You don't have to use these tools. You don't have to buy this paint. You don't have to join the school, get the book, or any of that stuff. This is up here on YouTube so that no matter where you are, maybe you're using your own tools, you're doing this your own way, you can do that. We will always be here for you in any way that you can come meet us at this canvas and participate in these art classes. Now, to that end,
there's an alarm.
There's an alarm. It won't go away.
Okay.
Well, you know,
going.
That's how it goes.
Yeah.
So to that end, be careful out there, clearly. I want you to be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and I'll see you at an easel really soon. Bye-bye.